Welcome to Dance Specific Talks. This podcast is made for us dancers, and our goal here is to inspire dancers from all over the world to become better, both on and off the dance floor. We want to provide you with a platform where we dancers can share and learn from each other. So let me introduce to you your host for this podcast, Teaser, and remember as always, by dancers, for dancers.
What's up, party people, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite dance podcast, Dance Specific Talks. I'm your host, Teaser, and today we're traveling all the way to Rotterdam in the Netherlands as we are meeting the popping dancer and host, Rajiv the She. So what do you need to know about Rajiv? He is a popping dancer who found popping quite late in his life and after that fell in love with the style. He's been competing in multiple battles, judging, but also started a host career where he's now been on TV, on several different events, and also being an artistic director for several big events around in the Netherlands. Now, before we get going into this interview, I just want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you who has been subscribing to the YouTube channel, to the Instagram. Our channels are keep on growing, and please feel free to share your favorite episode with your friends and family. And now, let's get it going. Welcome to this interview, Rajiv.
Hey!
Oh, you are like my colleague in both dancing but also hosting, and I'm really excited to have you on this podcast to talk about all of it with
Nice.
you. I mean,
Yeah, same.
you just became a father for the first time 7 weeks ago. How has life changed for you?
Yeah, it's just sleepless nights, but a lot of extra love here. That's her.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been quite a ride because together with my girlfriend, we really made a conscious decision on having this kid, and it's a blessing in so many levels. And yeah, it really puts things into perspective. You see, this is the perspective. And yeah, it just opens you up way more on the importance of the things that we're doing, and the reason why we are working in this artistic cultural field is to make sure that the next generation can also have a beautiful world to live in, with a lot of inspiration and all that beautiful stuff that we've been doing for all these years. So it's really interesting, and a nice event, live event that puts things in perspective, you know?
Yeah, because it must be a different purpose now, right? Like things are always been very purposeful for us being artists and dancers and whatnot. But when it's about like, oh, you're doing this for her now, it's her future that you wanna, change in a way. It must be a completely different feeling.
Yeah. No, it really is. I mean, before you get your motivation a lot of from personal drive, and now you realize that it's not about you, actually, and that's a very interesting mindset shift, that you understand that it's so much bigger than yourself, where before it was dope to stand on the floor, to have to do a battle or whatever, because it's about you. And now it's more interesting to feel like, how can we make sure that the space is safe for everyone, and it's a lower hurdle for people to step onto the floor and express themselves instead of only about me or something. So yeah, it's crazy.
And I mean, you've been on quite a journey in your artistic life. I don't actually really know how you started to dance, but I would love to hear what was it that with dance that caught you in the first place and made you stay.
Yeah, it was Salah, a dancer from France, who I saw on YouTube, and he did like the most amazing things with his body. and this was my first introduction to the dance form called popping. And when I saw that, it was such a magical moment for me that I decided, like, hey, this is something that I really want to do. So I did my research, and the internet was a thing. So this made me fall in love, because when you go down that rabbit hole, you learn about all these different styles and techniques, and even other great poppers, dancers. And I got stuck into the zone, and I was like, I want to do this. And actually, I went for it. Started training at the hip hop house in Rotterdam, and I never left. I mean, this was my introduction to dance, and it opened up the whole hip hop culture to me. The first step was a cool move, but what I got in return was culture, like an opening of mindset, and yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, because just to elaborate a little bit about culture, your parents are Indian slash lived in Suriname, and were you brought up in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I was born in Suriname, in Paramaribo, the capital city. But I was brought up in Rotterdam City. We came to Holland when I was 3 months old. Yeah, and I grew up there, and I didn't have like a Surinamese or an Indian surrounding. It was like a Dutch surrounding. So I'm really like a Dutch guy, but my family is very traditional. So my dad, he passed away beginning this year. He was a priest, a Hindu priest. So very conservative background. Religion was a thing that was very much there in our household, and yeah, a different approach than the hip hop approach. I can
Yeah,
say.
how was it then when you started to dance? Like, how was that received in your household and your family?
Yeah, not so good. It was a thing that they associated with Black culture. I mean, the origins of hip hop I mean, it is Black culture, of course. So they were correct on that one. but they much rather like to see me digging deeper in Indian culture, which I didn't. I was listening to the hip hop music, and my clothing was different, and yeah, for them it felt like I wasn't accepting my own identity, and I wasn't walking in the footsteps that they rather saw me following. So that was the thing. There was a lot of disappointment, and they said, "Hey, are you trying to be Black? Is this something that you want to do?" And because they didn't think too highly of people from different cultures. um, and there was their youngest son digging deep into Black culture and identifying with it, and not going as deep into Indian culture. So for them, there was a bit of it was a bit of a disappointment. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can imagine that, hip hop attracts a lot of different people, right? But also, in a way, I always felt very connected to people that are into, to hip hop culture, because it almost feels like we're all not really feeling that we fit in, either where we were born or with our family culture or with our, ethnicity, nationality, whatever. And so in order to find ourselves, we're now identifying with hip hop, which is somehow uniting us, and it's like a collective identity that we can relate to. Was Where do you think that your love for hip hop, like if you look into that deeper, the deep part of yourself, when you found hip hop culture, what was it with hip hop and not rock, that made you go for that culture?
It's a very good question. I felt I could identify more with people coming from hip hop culture, because people in hip hop culture it's very diverse. I mean, that's the introduction that I had into it. People from Suriname, people from the Caribbean, people from Asian countries, they were already identifying with hip hop culture, so I could identify as well because I saw like-minded people that looked like me, who could thrive in the culture. When I was looking at, I mean, honestly, I'm down with rock music. When I look at it, I hear it. It's not all bad. I mean, there are some pretty dope rock tracks, but these were predominantly white people doing this, and I couldn't identify as much with rock music and rock culture. So I just went with the stuff that I got attracted to the most because of people that look like me. I think it's very practical. That's why I felt it more, because the way that we spoke, because I'm from Suriname, right? And in hip hop culture in Holland, slang is mostly Surinamese language. I felt, hey, I identified with this, when I saw people in the culture dancing, they were mixing salsa, they were mixing their own traditional folk dances into the basic foundations of hip hop. This was something I resonate with because I knew these other dances as well, and that's why I felt like, hey, this is something that's for me. That's why I gravitated more towards hip hop than other cultures, I guess.
It's also a kind of a liberation that, like, within hip hop culture, you mostly identify with, if we take dance, what style you're doing, rather than where does your parents come from, or like where were you locally brought up,
Yeah, for sure.
What I felt that nobody really asked me, where do you come from? They just asked, what do you dance? What music do you listen to? And it's a bit of like a freeing of being free from the labels that normally you so categorized to. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm really thankful to hear about this from you.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to choices of dance styles, there's also several styles within the hip hop genre, right? But what was it with popping? Popping is like a different mentality when it comes to people dedicating time and energy to training hip hopping.
Yeah, that's true. So the most attractive thing of popping for me is the illusions. I really loved. I like magic, I like stuff that you see going on and you can't really explain what's going on. I was always attracted towards this. And when I saw popping, I saw people making a wave, dancing like a robot, doing the moonwalk, sliding. And these were all superhero-like stuff that was going on. And it gave me the feeling that as a human, you can do stuff that other people can't. It felt like an X-Men to me or something, I was like, whoa, I can train this. There's a technique to this. So it was a very empowering feeling when you felt like I can do stuff that other people can't do. Man, I was a young guy. So when you're that young, this is something that's really important to you, feeling special, And this is what popping really did to me. And the more I matured, the more I appreciated the dancing aspect of it. But that came later, like being on beat and feeling and funk and groove. That came later. That was a mature thing for me. But in the beginning, it was like, yo, this looks amazing, and I can do stuff that nobody else can do. That was the prime attraction. And still, when I look at poppers, I feel that childlike energy, like, oh my God, this is so amazing. How can they do that? So yeah, that's the thing for popping that me personally, I got attracted towards.
Yeah, because it's one thing to start training, popping. I remember my own poppers and my first hip hop crew. They were always the one that was like alone, in a room for 2 hours, and most of them were even listening to dubstep, not really even popping at that time. And I just remember being like, wow, they're so dedicated. Like it's like another level of nerdiness to popping, which is unique. We are of course shaped by the dancing that we do, but how do you feel like popping changed you as a person?
I think it gave me the confidence that I can imagine something in my mind. I can visualize stuff, work hard towards that goal, and achieve it. It's like straight up this. It's like you can create magic. You can create magic, like literally, you can create magic if you have a plan and a work ethic. And that's the biggest lesson I have gotten from doing this dance, because this is something that also applies to all other areas in life. If you can make a wave, if you describe it to somebody that never saw a wave, they're gonna say you're crazy. I'm gonna make sure that you are gonna think that there's energy in my arm going from point A to B, but you're gonna believe it. It's not for real, but you're gonna believe it. You create that illusion. It's crazy. It's crazy if you think about it, right? But you can do it. And this is what the dance really gave me, like the confidence that you can do stuff that other people thought that it cannot be done. So it's a very deep deep lesson to me.
Yeah, it's basically a lifestyle of believing more in yourself and your skills, and that you can reach further in life than you maybe thought. So that's like life changing. Yeah.
100%, yeah.
Because so take me through the journey. You started training popping, you started battling. How did the journey look after that? Because at some point you either going to have to start teach or perform or whatever to make money so that you can do what you love to do. How did that transition go from you from training to making it into a profession?
Yeah, so I actually started pretty late with dancing. I started with taking classes from Lloyd Marengo, my teacher at the Hip Hop House, when I was finishing my how do you call this, middle school, middle school, high school. When I finished this, I was 12. I was 18 years when I started training. And at the same time, I studied. I started with my study as a physical therapist. So the 4 years that followed, I went deep into the dance. I went deep into my studies, and as I came out of my studies 4 years later, I was a physical therapist, and at the same time, I was a dancer who was pretty well formed. I was the first one in, the last one out for 4 years long, so I could dance now. And I started my career as a physical therapist. I had several jobs, and actually, I was pretty good as a physical therapist. I was a promising one, and a lot of different companies wanted to have me to work like a regular 9 to 5 job as a physical therapist. So I thought that I was also gonna do that. So as I started my first year as a physical therapist, I also was pretty good at dancing, and I was offered a job as a dancer, as a teacher. So when I started working as a physical therapist, I felt so unhappy. It really felt bad. It felt like, I've been studying for all these years to end up in a cage, 9 to 5, and doing what the man tells me to do. I couldn't really deal with that in a good way. But I was making good money. And then what happened is somebody offered me a job as a dance teacher. Say, hey, Jeff, it's gonna be your first gig as a dance teacher. I mean, I was doing some shows, but it wasn't a lot of money. But he said, if you want to make a living, it's like half of what you're earning as a physical therapist, maybe less. But we want to give you a shot because we feel that you are a very promising dancer. Then I had to make that call. What am I gonna do? So I decided to follow my heart, and I took a big leap of faith, and I stopped my job as a physical therapist. But I must say, I bought a massage bench and I opened up a small business as a massage therapist. So I would still have my knowledge as a physical therapist, and have clients, but only do the stuff that I really like to do, which was massaging. And at the same time, I was working as a dance teacher. So I had two jobs, two side jobs who came together and made like a full-time job to pay the rent, right? Which I wasn't doing. I couldn't make enough money to pay the rent. I was like really depressed at home, like, how am I going to make this work, you know? But then you do what you have to do. So again, I treated the situation the way I treated my dance. First one in, last one out. Be the best you can be, and make sure that you leave an impression, so they want you back, and that's what I did. So from teaching, it went really well. I had been teaching for years and years and years, making money with that. But I was still training as a dancer, so I was asked for a couple of auditions, to do some theater shows, which were really nice. And we formed a crew called the Paparazzi Crew. And the Paparazzi Crew was like the first popping crew in Holland. And that took off because we did some TV shows, Holland's Got Talent, Move Like Michael Jackson. And in both of these shows, we ended up in the finals, landing us a contract with Sony Music as the first dance crew in Holland ever to have a contract by Sony Music. Yeah, which was crazy. So all of a sudden, we were in business as the dance crew. We were doing a lot of shows throughout the year, so a lot of places, different countries. And then I took it upon myself to not be so much on the forefront as a performer, but I felt that the crew needed management. So together with Leo, a crewmate, we opened up Paparazzi Entertainment, which was like a business, and we made it like a professional dance crew. First one, I mean, never saw anybody do it, and we did that. And from there on, I became like a concept developer. I was thinking, okay, of course we're doing shows, but we can also do festivals. We can also do education programs. We can also do T-shirts. We can also do videos. We can also do runway. We can also do fashion. We did all of that, and it went quite well actually. After 2 to 3 years, the television fame kind of faded out. And then, yeah, everybody was working in the crew. Everybody was making money. Everybody was living full time from dance and doing gigs at the same time. We were doing a lot of interesting stuff, underground, but also commercial. But then the crew, the people in the crew members decided to part ways, not in a bad way, but people developed other interests. Gilles started the Amenti Collective, doing his own thing. Anthony did the So You Think You Can Dance, starting off his own movement with Hip Hop Kings. Leo went deep into hip hop. So everybody was doing stuff inside the dance world and becoming, mature. So this was really good, and for me, paparazzi was a thing. If any a platform for the dancers to become self-sustaining. So that happened, and I had no paparazzi entertainment business anymore. It went away, but I opened up a talent agency, and we had a talent agency because we had the same formula for other artists, and from there on I just went into a very broad perspective of cultural work, eventually leading me to Africa, to Senegal, having an amazing year with the Don't Hit Mama. Yeah, very like one of the most, I think, forming years of my life, where I went 3 times to Senegal, West Africa. And when I came back from this journey, so much happened inside of me that I felt like I need to contribute to society in a broader sense, not only by being on a stage. So I opened up a foundation called Connecting the Culture, And with this foundation, we've been doing multicultural, multidisciplinary projects ever since. Very dope stuff. Um, and from there, I got noticed by people from the city, and they asked me to think about. There's an opera festival in Rotterdam. It's called Opera Dagen Festival, like a very distinguished opera festival, and they asked me to do one of their projects. That went really well, so well that right now I'm one of the directors of Opera Dagen Festival, creative directors. And from there, I got noticed by someone else, and right now I'm also the artistic director from the street culture Rotterdam Street Culture Week. It's a street culture festival in Rotterdam, the biggest one here. Yeah, so now I'm in a position where I have, and at the same time, the massage parlor also grew. So I have the massage parlor with 10 massage therapists going hard, treating people. I'm an artistic director with Rotterdam Street Culture Week, programming street culture events in sports and arts throughout the year. I'm a director at the Opera Dagen Festival, where I'm making amazing shows, meeting amazing people from different walks of life. And I have my own foundation, Connecting the Culture, where I can also contribute to society. So it's a lot of stuff happened. And yeah, it's a unique position to be in and a very rewarding process.
Wow. Wow, I had like so many questions along the way here. I mean, when dancers are listening to this development of your journey, one of the questions that at least I get is like, yeah, how do you actually get noticed being a dancer to being hired for your creative sides as a director or a consultant or whatever? Like what would you say have served you, not just your dancing skills but other things as well, when it comes to being noticed?
Yeah, right. So for instance, the way I got noticed at the opera festival was through a friend that was asked originally to do the opera thing, right? But this friend of mine, I worked with him on several other projects before as a dancer. But every time that I do a project, I try to show myself in a broader sense. So of course I'm dancing, but I'm also thinking together with you on what are you doing, what is your idea, what is your goal, what is your process. I also try to see, okay, what is the production doing? I also try to, so everything that I can add, even though you don't pay me to think about all this other stuff, but if it's something that I know about, I try to help you. And this is something that I don't do with something in the back of my mind, like, so in the future you're gonna hire me. It's not about that. It's about being honest and about expressing the talents that you have. If you do this, if you just make sure that you, in an honest way, express the talents that you have, you're gonna get noticed. It's simple as that. It's simple as that. And you can be proactive about it. You can push yourself. You can pitch yourself when the time is there, but it has to be based on an honest expression of your talents. And that's what I did. I just focused on the stuff that I'm good at, and as long as you do that, people are going to notice you. And luck is also a part of it. It's not that I planned everything out in the detail what I was gonna do. I'm a host. You're a host. I'm also a host. And the way I became a host was so random. I was at a gig of Don't It Mama, and the MC got sick or something. I don't know what happened, and they needed a speaker. And everybody looked at me. I'm like, shit. I know if I can do it, but let's try. That's how it started with me. Yeah. This was also like 12 years ago or something, Yeah. So random, but this is luck. Did I plan it? No. Did I had a reputation as an MC? No. But I took that mic and it worked. I landed my first gig that day. Never had a mic in my hand. It's just
I
dumb luck,
feel you. I feel
you
you. I
know?
remember that first time I was hosted too. I was literally at the dance school in Gothenburg, and I
You
was
know?
literally saying to the dance school owner, like, okay, once every semester we have a battle at the school.
Right, right.
Um, I think I could actually, like, let me know if you need someone to host. Not
You
knowing.
never did it, right? You never did it.
I mean, I just reached out and I was just like, I just think I could actually do this, but I don't know why I think that, but
Exactly.
why not?
It's your intuition, it's a
Yeah.
hunch, a feeling, whatever.
Yeah. And then
If you're in contact with yourself, you can reach that place, you know?
exactly. And I mean, since then, yeah, every time I got a gig, it was like a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And then suddenly you're there and you're like hosting these international events and you're
Crazy.
like, who am I? I don't even like, I don't rap, I don't sing, I don't know,
Yeah.
mic control, I don't know any of that, but loving it still. So like when you started to host events, what was something that you thought was like the most important for you as a host to bring to the event?
Understanding that it's not about me, and understanding that the host is there to uplift the spirits of everyone. I think that the MC is a very key figure in energy management. You're the one, if people come to an event and they're really hyped, and to see a battle, to see a show, whatever, and you have a whack host, a whack MC, then they cannot release their joy and their energy that they already have inside of them, you know? But it's there, the energy is there, but it's on you to feel the energy, feel like how is the crowd responding, are they excited or not? And when you this is number one, feeling the energy in the crowd, and then it's on you to act on it. Okay, am I going to make sure that the crowd is able to express it? People make some noise, let's go. Or do you want to create focus? Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're very excited, but for the first time coming to the stage, blah 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 blah, you know? So you can play with it, and there's no right, there's no wrong, but you need to be conscious of the energy, because else, if you don't do that, people are going to leave that place frustrated
What has
because
been
they don't
like,
feel.
oh, sorry. What has been like one of your most challenging hosting gigs then?
Yeah, so the I think the best hosting gigs are the gigs where you feel comfortable also with the people that you're hosting for. And this is also a culture thing because when I'm hosting a street culture event, I know the because culture is not only a thing that you do, right? Culture is also the unwritten rules. You know what's done and what's not done. So if you know that, you can do crowd control because you know exactly the way that the crowd thinks. You understand it totally. This is the best crowd to have. But what if you're hosting for a crowd that come from a culture that you totally not know? No, I've had this. I've had this. They asked me to host for the upper days an event, and these are all like high class intellectual white people that come from a totally different background than me, who value different stuff, who have different types of communication, who have different references with music and what is enjoyment and how to appreciate and how to show appreciation. It's totally different. That's a tough crowd for me because it's not my culture. And of course, we're all human and blah, 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 universal love, of course. But it's tough because you don't understand how they communicate. At least I didn't. So that was also a very eye-opening moment for me to also know when to say, no, I'm not going to do that because that's not my crowd.
Oh, wow. I love that. It's very hard to get into those insights. And also, like when you are an artist and you want to have as many gigs as possible, to just say no because you realize that doing this will actually damage you know,
Yeah,
my professional brand, because
exactly.
it's not my thing.
Because you're gonna be struggling, if
Yeah.
you're gonna do that all the time, say yes to everything, then you're gonna be there like abada abada abada, or you're making jokes, nobody's laughing, or you feel nervous because you don't know what they're talking about. You don't want to be that person. That's the whack host that you see so many times on stage, and that's the host that didn't make a proper choice.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna be that person. That's not
Yeah.
who you want to be.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm just like trying to look back at things that I've also done, and I'm like,
Yeah, was that me? Oh shit.
yeah, yeah, I remember the first time I did moderating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, to like not just focus on a crowd, but like to focus on individually
Yeah.
6 people at the same time, and like being, oh, I hope I don't pronounce this wrong, or that I didn't get this fact wrong, and whatever. So yeah, it's different. It is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So when you've been hosting a lot of different things, but you've also been hosting both TV and live events. How would you say those things are different, and in what way?
Totally different world, because live events, you see the people that you're presenting to, and there's a direct interaction in your energy. It's what you give, you get back. And television, it's imaginary. There's a camera, it's a machine that you're talking to, so it's very different. And it's a different type of self-consciousness that you need to have for television, because you need to visualize and imagine how to reach a crowd. In a live event, I can talk loud, I can be hype, I can do that kind of stuff, and then you as a viewer will feel more engaged in a live crowd. If I do that same stuff on television, you're like, yo, what's wrong with this guy? So you need to feel like, okay, this is a totally different medium. How are people going to view it in the setting of their home, on the television? They're calm, they're looking at you, and they're not in this hype, mind state. No, they're in this calm. They want them to talk to you in a proper, calm way. It's different world. This is something that I had to learn. Also, the handling of text is different. In a live event, you can just wing it. You freestyle, and you can make mistakes, and you laugh, ha ha ha. If you do the same stuff in a television show, you're gonna look so bad. You need to be prepared. You need to know what you're saying. You need to, yeah. It's a very different world. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, I haven't come that far yet. I haven't been on TV, so I'm gonna, call you up when it's time for it, and I'm gonna be like, Rajiv, give me some notes.
Yeah. I'll help you. No worries.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, funny enough, when you and I met, it was very random, because I got to be assisting a production that you were a performer in. You were not the director, you were not the host, you were an actual dance performer.
Yeah.
And that show was about the Asian history, both from the colonial history, but also in general, what combines people with Asian heritage, and how did it feel to be a part of that show, knowing that you focused on hip hop culture, and now suddenly you're asked to be in a show where you are representing your Asian background. How did that feel for you?
Yeah. So when I'm representing my hip hop culture, I never deny the Asian background. I incorporate it, actually. I think that the knowledge of the Asian background and accepting it makes your hip hop even stronger. So in that sense, it didn't feel to bite each other and I think that the full cast of that show had the same, they were all Asians from different countries, but all of them had a strong link with hip hop. They were all hip hop dancers. Actually, it felt like a very interesting way how hip hop is so easy to assimilate all these different influences. So it was a very very, very nice process to be in. Yeah, it was cool.
Because I mean, that's also one thing, right? Like the show, it was from the first day you guys rehearsed it till the last performance that you actually did. A lot of things happened, not only like in the world, but also in your life and your
Yeah,
father passing.
yeah.
And for the people who don't know the show, you're actually having a portrait of your father in the background,
Yeah.
and also dancing a very powerful solo in front of that picture.
Mm-hmm.
How is it for you to do the show before and after something such a life-changing event in your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really confronting or something. Confronting, special, sometimes a little bit awkward. Not awkward is not the right word, but very emotional, you know? Because you're right, when we made the performance, my dad was alive and there was no, I mean, he passed due to Corona in this January. And we were already doing a lot of shows before January, last year. And my dad was such a big part of the show because it's the story is a little bit about how my dad and his ancestors, his grandfather came from India to Surinam, and how he grew into a man that had certain types of hopes and dreams, and how this big story reflects on me. I'm a product of this, and yeah, a lot of the show made us all think about who we are and where we came from and the relationship that we have with my dad. Um, and then he passed away, uh, and that was really painful. And then you need to dance in front of the picture of your father. It's a lot to swallow, It's a lot to swallow because you've been, and he never came to see the show. Yeah, because he had his reservations on public appearances, and dance was not something that he was particularly very proud of. He wasn't against it, but he wasn't really down with it. Um, yeah, so there was also an extra element, like, shit, you're part of the show, but you never came to see it, and now you're gone, and you're still part of the show.
And you are also finding out that you are becoming a dad for the
Becoming a
first
dad for the
time.
first time, yeah. And that was also a big thing because my dad was really happy to have a granddaughter in this case, and he was so happy, but he never got to see her. That's so bitter,
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff was going on, and yeah, it was quite difficult to, if you stand still and you think like, what's going on actually,
Yeah.
It's a lot. And in the same way, very therapeutic, because yeah, Nita and Bart, the directors of the show of Don't Tin Mama, were like angels, always checking up on me and asking like, hey, is this something that you want to do? Are you okay with it? If you're not, we totally understand. But I felt like, no, I have to do this because yeah, because of my dad, it felt like an ode or an homage to his energy and his spirit, and he became an ancestor now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so many other people in that portrait and in that show. So I mean, the whole show is also about like kind of honoring the memory and who you are and the people that made you who you are. So it was very powerful, even though I was not in the show. It was also very relatable for me because I also lost my father like 2019, so
Not so long ago,
not so long ago. And the same thing there, like I would have loved to see him become a grandfather, and he just didn't get the time to do that. And I'm gonna have to be okay living with that reality, that he will not see me get married and that he will not see my kids, but at least he got to be there and be my dad for a very for that time period.
And in a way, it's also that my father and your father as well lives inside of you, because you are your dad, like in a literal sense. And if you when you will have a child, if you are in the future, your dad will also be your child.
Yeah.
My father's also I got my dad right here.
Yeah.
And like in a literal sense, his DNA is everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that way, I don't know if you're down with reincarnation when you think about that, but this is the purest form of reincarnation that you can think of.
Absolutely. And like you start realizing that you have sides of him that you didn't even think that you had,
Exactly,
personality
yeah.
traits and
Sure.
all of that. Yeah. No, but it's powerful, and that's also like such a unique thing as an artist to that what you did. A lot of people that are not dancers or that are not artists never gets to experience what it means to perform, with that connection. And yeah, it's one of those very, very vulnerable but also unique experiences that you have as a dance artist.
Yeah.
When you look back now, your father, as you say, was a priest in the religion that he comes from. What things are you making sure that you take away from him being who you are and continuously living on? What is one of the best traits that you're gonna continue living by, or giving
Yeah.
out?
Well, I think that the strongest lesson that I'm going to spread that I got from my dad was the way that he treated other people, the way that he was a very kind-hearted man, and he was able to connect with everyone around him. He had a very strong sense of humor, and uh, his goal was to connect people to each other. He was a community worker doing a lot of interesting cooperations with different cultures as well. And he did this. When he passed away, I thought that, just before 1 week before he went, I went to the hospital, and I thought that the most important thing that he wanted to have besides him in his last days were his books, his religious books or something. So I asked him, like, so you want me to get those books for you? And he said, no, I don't want them. Like, you don't want your books? This is your lifelong mission. He said, no, I have everything I need just right here in this moment. So I don't need anything. I have my people around me, and that's the most important thing. So to be able to let go of dogmatic principles, to be able to let go on all this stuff that seems to matter, but in the end really doesn't. That was really strong for me. Like, oh man, I know this man like a priest for as long as I live, and now he says, no, you can leave all that stuff behind. I don't need it. Then that was strong to me. Like, whoa, this is some deep stuff,
Yeah. And what is one thing then in your dancing that you used to think was important, but that you no longer value as high?
In being the best, in being in competition all the time, in trying to win all the battles, have the best show, have the best wave, being the hardest hitter, all this type of stuff is stuff that doesn't matter to me anymore. Yeah, this is something that really went away. It's more like the egotistical side of the artistry, which I don't think is something that you need to lose always. I think there's a lot of power in also listening to the ego. I think that the ego is not a bad thing. I only think there's a time and place for it. Yeah.
That's very interesting, because that's That's something that we're also, if we are zooming out and we're thinking about our community, but also the dancing scene. Now it's in the Netherlands, we're talking. I mean, there are competitions, but the popping scene or the amount of poppers is not as big as maybe the amount of dancers from other styles. What are some of your like visions or hopes and dreams for the popping scene or the dancing scene that you're a part of?
I hope that the dancing scene realizes that together we can reach much more than by ourselves. And ourselves, I mean, of course, dancers amongst each other, styles amongst each other. You can cross, but also outside of dance, because this is what I feel has been the most promising, the most rewarding development in my life, in respecting who you are and what your core qualities are, and with this knowledge, going outside of your own comfort zone, and feel what it is to work with a spoken word artist or with a free runner or a beatboxer or a theater maker, whatever. Because in this way, your art form becomes an added value to so much more people than dancers. So try to put your value in a broader perspective, because this way you become relevant for everyone, except in comparison to becoming relevant for only dancers. It's such a small bubble. There's so much more than that. But then you need to be able to be open and curious about the world outside. And this is what I wish for the community.
Boom. Mic drop out. I
Baby
love
bottle
that.
drop.
Whoa. I mean, that's exactly. I couldn't have said it in a better way. I think that we are now coming to, I wouldn't say we, because I'm not the first or the second generation of hip hop dancers in Europe, but I do feel
No, me
that
neither.
that we are part a bit of an old school mindset, which is like train hard in your style, understand the foundations, and like earn your respect and all of this. And then at some point, now we're reaching a point where we want to mix and we want to blend and we want to, open new magical spots, as you also mentioned before. And I
I
love
always
that.
I always try to compare it with a good like a recipe for a good meal. The meal, you have to add all these different ingredients, right? But the meal can only be good if the ingredients are pure. So you need to focus on your stuff. Focus on your stuff, because if you don't focus on your art form, the mix won't make any sense. Because if you're half-assed in your own stuff and you're like, yeah, but I mix because I'm so open, then you're not going to be adding value to nobody, because nobody wants to work with somebody who doesn't master their own craft. So the mix won't work. Make sure that the ingredients are pure and strong, and then mix, and then it becomes 1 and 1 is 3.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, Rajiv, one of the legendary art makers of this country. Thank you so much. I mean, in the end of my interviews, I always do something called fill in the gaps, which is I'm starting a sentence and you're ending with one word or maximum an end of a sentence. Okay? So I'm going to hit you with the first one. As a teacher, I always try to give my students
self-confidence.
Boom. When I am hosting, I always want my audience to feel
safe.
Love that. Love that. As a director, one of my goals is
to break down the wall as a spectator.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm getting feelings that we have some new upcoming projects. So
Yeah.
Okay, one thing I have yet to achieve is
one thing I have yet to achieve is, what do I have to achieve? It's not one thing. Shit, it's a lot of things. Building a bridge between different generations.
That's an important one, and that's not just a one answer type of question. Yeah,
it's difficult.
All right. The best advice I've ever got was.
The best advice. Damn. The best advice I ever got was, the best thing that you can do is to become yourself.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's some layers to that one.
Yeah. That's a deep one, huh? Yeah.
I like that. Okay, Rajiv, the priest. Okay, and I'm gonna hit you with the last one. If I could make everyone in the world try this at least once, it would be.
It would be letting your guard down and open up to another. Yeah.
It's a lot of conflicts that could have been,
Yeah.
avoided.
Trust. I think it's the thing. If there's so much fear of the other people, of the other person, that communication stops and stuff happens that you just can't understand, but it all comes from fear. Fear of being hurt, fear of being conned, fear of being, mistreated. And yeah, it would be nice if we could be a little bit more naive. And sometimes being naive gets you hurt, for sure. But I think that's the only way that we can really relate to each other, is by trusting and yeah, taking a risk.
Yeah, for sure. Rajiv, thank you so much for coming onto this podcast. I always say in the end of my interview, where can people find more about you, your upcoming projects? Is there anyone you want to love bomb? The mic is yours.
So you can find me on, I got a website called Jeef the Chief. So www.jeefthechief.nl. Check it out. I got too many Instagrams, but if I would say one, I would have to say go to at Jivon_Arazi. You will find the rest over there. And love bomb to my baby.
Aww.
And my other baby over there, and my wife at home. So yeah.
Oh, sending love to all them women in your life. I love that. Hey, I can't wait to see you soon, man. Thank you so much for your
Likewise, hope to see you soon in real life.
Don't forget to click subscribe, comment below, and give us a rating or review. We have a Facebook page, YouTube page, and we are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and all the other podcast platforms. We also have an Instagram, so don't forget to tag us in your favorite episode and share it with the world, because we read all of it.